Okay, so as you all saw in the announcement earlier, school closed early. There was a water main break there in Sellersburg, and obviously can't have a public building without running water. But we're doing Android in 8 weeks, so we're kind of pressed for time anyway. And I didn't want to miss this one because what we were going to cover tonight is themes and styles, which will be a requirement on the midterm next week. So I wanted to make sure y'all had some time to practice with it before then. We'll review it on Tuesday quickly, but the video should get a good start on it and you can figure it out from there. It's very straightforward. So let's get started here then. So the topic for tonight is themes and styles. A couple of vocabulary terms to start out here. A style is how a particular thing looks. Making a button blue, or using Times New Roman font in a text view. When we put a whole bunch of styles together, such as making all the buttons in an app blue, or using Times New Roman font in all the text on an app, that's when we have a theme. So styles are how a particular thing looks, and themes are collections of styles. Let's jump over to Android Studio and see how this goes together. So we're looking at colors and font, things like that, sizes, and we just need a place to put it. So I opened up the example from Tuesday evening, the one going over events. We had click listeners, editor action listeners, touch listeners, put a few things together there to look at different events and get a start on that. And this will work to put some colors on. So this particular app, our events were working the other day, but let's run this and take a look at it. So here's the app from the other day. Have our little editor there, the events. The main thing we're looking at here, let's see what we do. Put that on there, show them a message, then hit the move message button. Just practicing with events. But the main thing I was looking at tonight, we have that weird color, greenish blue, the default color there. White background, gray buttons. Nothing really interesting going on in how the app looks. So let's make some changes to that. So obviously the first thing we could look at, I mentioned those default colors, we could kind of change those. If we come over to our colors.xml, which is in the resources, values, colors.xml. And you should be seeing something like this on your screen. Comes with three basic colors built in, the default colors. We could change those up to start with. If you're in the colors.xml, most every place a color is used, it's going to predict them. But in our colors XML file, we can come over here and click on the color and get to an editor. I'm try to find a nice shade of green somewhere in here. Something greenish. I don't know. Something like that. It's going to look weird in the video anyway. But change that around. Maybe a darker blue. And change this to a bright red. Or on this side. Red's on this side. That'll work. But that's a good first place to make changes, is adjusting those colors. So with those adjusted, I'm going to run this again and look at that. And I'll pause the video because there's no need to waste video watching the Gradle build run. And I'll be right back with that. So it's probably hard to tell in the video here, but maybe you can see a little, the action bar is now a different color. And the underlining on the edit text is a different color. It's probably really hard to tell in a video, but slightly different colors than those default ones. So that's our first place to look when changing the way our app appears, is just changing the default colors and starting there. But we probably want to do a little bit more than that and give things our own touch of style in and make it look nice, or in general fit the company if that's the sort of app we're making. So let's go back over to Android Studio and see how we start customizing these things. Okay, back over in Android Studio now. Where's a good place to start? Maybe the background on the app. Let's go in here and give our app a different color background. So we can color tag into our colors.xml file again. I'll call this background color. And notice when I type the tag, there's no little thing over here to click on. We do have to have something in there, some hex value in there. So hash, I don't know, 76543. That gives us a hexadecimal color. We can come over here and click on somewhere brown. I don't know, let's go with a light gray. So it's not quite a dark theme, not quite a light theme, just really just a random color. But we can probably see this on the layout file. I had to run it a moment ago because we can't really see the view. Well, it hasn't changed anything, but that's because we haven't applied it anywhere yet. We need to apply this theme. So, first thing, we can see our app is using this thing called app theme. And I want to go ahead and mention this. We haven't looked at the manifest yet. I've talked about them briefly in the last couple times. But over in our manifest, we have, again, wrote in XML. We have this attribute here, Android theme style.apptheme. I'm going to change that and kind of make our own theme. So I'm going to change that to example theme for this time. I just wanted to show it to you. So right now it's saying it doesn't exist. There's nothing in the style tag called themes. So let's go over here and look at the style tag. Nothing called example theme. Oh, I guess I can just change this one. So name is example theme. We have to give every one of our styles needs a name. It needs two things. So our style tag, to start with, we set up our XML tags for a style, and we have to give it a name so we can refer to it. I'm going to call this example theme, and then some sort of parent. So I'm just going to keep that default one there and extend that. But there are a whole lot of options. If you start typing, the IntelliSense will predict a whole bunch of them. Or you can try different ones, which is another one we should probably look at here. Activity main. From here where it's showing what theme it is, we can come down here and there's a and click more themes, and there's this huge list of different themes we can choose from. Lately, Google's actual recommendation is material themes. Either one of those. It's named after a design firm. I'll send you all a link to those with this. This example, when I send out the file and the video, I'll send a link to Google's recommendations for how themes should look. So, we go back over to styles. The basic concept, so this is a theme. It's styling a bunch of things. In this case, a bunch of presets. Anything that asks for the primary color, primary dark color, the accent color is going to use those default colors that are put in. So to add our own things, we add an add item tag inside of the opening and closing style tags. And the name is going to be something predicted from the list. So Android, I'm going to go with, and I'll make a comment here about this. There's also a regular just Android background thing. If you use that, it will change all the backgrounds at once, because our other styles will be inheriting from this one. So we'll need to watch that. And then we made the color. So add color, background color. Whoops, not accent color. So you don't want a bright red. There we go. Add color, background color. Throws that little gray one in here. If we come back over here, we can see turned everything gray. Turned the background gray, but not the background of everything. If you use Android background instead of Android color background, it will fill in the backgrounds here, and the action bar up here will all have a gray background. I think I'm running out of time on this video. So that's the first part of it, how setting those up. "15 minutes isn't very long. I might have to try abbreviating this a little. Here it is with the gray background, the green action bar up top, gray background kind of filled in, buttons are still the default color. I guess I can move the keyboard out of the way. You can see that did change the background color. So the basic idea is we put together a style tag, and inside that style tag are a bunch of items. And then we just fill out what we want that a particular item to be. So an item might be a font size, a particular font. Maybe we'll do that next. Colors, all sorts of things. We'll look at a couple examples. But these videos have to be 15 minutes long. So there's going to be a couple of them coming on the end of this first one. So I'm going to render this down, start another one, and we'll start looking a little more at themes, or look a little more at, I guess we won't start, we already started. We'll look a little more detail at it. Okay, so continuing where we left off here in the next video. So in the first video, this screen capture stuff is limited to 15 minutes, then ask about the video. So I'm just going to do a couple short videos. Themes and styles are very straightforward. Once you see a couple of them, you'll kind of have a really good idea of where to go from there. So in the first video, we changed our default colors. We can kind of see it here in the action bar. Made that a darker green instead of that tealish, bluish, whatever that original color that comes on there is. And we added in a background color to look at items. So if we go back over to Android Studio, we've kind of done this so far. We put our themes go in style tags, and every theme has to have a name and inherit from somewhere. So we want to pick whatever we're inheriting from, some basic theme that has all the parts included, and then we'll customize the ones we want and give it a name so we can ask for it. So how do we add our custom items? For example, these buttons. Those colors don't fit very well, so let's give them a different color. I'll start in colors.xml color. So I'm going to add in a color tag, name equals, I'll call it button color. And again, you don't have the little thing to click on until there's some hex color in there. So remember, hex colors are the pound sign and then 2 digits for red, 2 digits for green, 2 digits for blue. Red, green, blue colors, and it needs to be in hexadecimal, so base 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So something brings up a basic hex color, and then we can get to the little spot to click on. Oh, I don't know. Let's put yellow buttons. Just kind of a random color, a random yellow color. It's not an art class to the point we're not going over how to match colors and stuff. Usually you'll have some idea of something that would work, or you can check out color theory. That's a huge field of psychology, just picking all the what colors go good with each other and what effects they have on people. Might be worth looking into a little, at least some basic color theory, and get an idea on that. But for our purposes tonight, we're just looking at how to change the colors of things in this case. So just kind of picked a random yellow color here. And I'll go back to styles and I'll apply that to the buttons. So I need I'll make a style tag, name equals my button. That's a good name for it. And again, it's a style tag, so everything needs a name and a parent. And for the parent class, I'll just use our main theme, our example theme. So it's just going to be a part of that. Give it a name so we can refer to it. And example theme. And once again, it's a style tag, so to fill things out, we just put in items. Name equals Android color background. Got an extra space in there. I gotta take that out. Yeah, I'll just do that. Color background. So we're setting that property, and we want to set that color to the one we just created. So at color / button color. So that'll change the style of that, the color of the buttons. But again, typing it in is not quite enough. Layout and see that our buttons are still the color they were. Because in the styles tag, it's looking at this overall theme. So we have to tell this theme that we want to apply that style to buttons. So name equals Android. All of these are going to start out with Android too. So Android dot, and to apply a style to a particular component, we just need the name of the component with the word style appended on the end. So we have a button style, and that button style we want to apply that style we just made. So to set up a reference to that style, it's in the styles folder. So at style / my button. Oh, which is another thing to probably mention, our file names. We have colors.xml, but our tag is color without the S. Same thing on strings. The file names are plural, and the tag names are singular. You want to pay attention to that when you're watching it, because for example, color, that button color, is in an XML file called colors.xml. .xml with an S, but when we annotate it, we have @color without the S. And same thing with the style. So styles.xml with the plural form, but when we use our annotation, it's @style. So you want to pay attention to that, but it's consistent. It's that same way every time. So that should apply that yellow color to our buttons. Kind of backed out, went with the color. Maybe, let's see if the regular background works better on that one. Just a regular background. There we go. So in that case, nothing's inheriting from it. So I just used the regular background in this case. Anything that would inherit from this button would also get the background thing. But as you play around with it a little, you'll get a sense of when to use color background versus background. So a couple other things here though. You can see that took away a lot of the button appearance. It took away, well, any padding and some of the borders and things. So if we're going to style the button, we probably want to put some of those back in. So our name equals, again, I'll start with Android dot padding. And you can see down here in the IntelliSense, if we scroll down a little, I'll use the mouse, that way there's a little circle. We have padding left and padding right, padding top. So we have different ones. But for this quick example, we'll just use the regular padding, which will apply everywhere. And we need some sort of dimension. We can type it in, right? So 12, and then our different types of dimensions. We have dips, density independent pixels, inches, millimeters, points, regular pixels, and scalable pixels or sips. Usually we use dips and sips. I don't know, I'll go with sips here. And come back over and look at it. Gave us a little bit more padding. Made the buttons big enough to touch, basically. At least make sure all your buttons are the size of a finger so that people can touch the things. So we set up a style tag, add a couple things, and then we ask for that style for an item in our overall theme tag is the basic idea. We'll do that a couple more times, but real quickly, we've seen in class before that there should be a file where we can keep dimensions, just like we do with colors and styles and strings and many more things we'll see. But it's not there by default. So we need to go create that dimensions file. You could, if you remember the name, you could do that. Personally, I like to go in and let the computer create one. So we need a size, so I'll just go to click on a button or something. Any random one here will work. And then we come down and somewhere there should be a property for text size. I don't see it in the common thing. So expand all attributes and text size. There we go. So 14 sips. And I've dropped down to choose a bunch of them. Or if we click the little button to get to this, we can go to add new resource, new dimension value. Oh, I'll make one called text size. We'll make them bigger. And that'll be, I don't know, 22 sips. 32 sips. Make them really big. And then that creates the folder we need, or the file we need demins.xml, abbreviated dimensions, then we can put that other one in here. So in the resources tag, the dimension tag with the name well, should probably be very specific, right? That way we know exactly what it is if the project grows big. What did I do on padding? Was it 12 sips? I think so. Then set up the resources the same way we keep track of the rest of it. It consolidates it. If you want to, you could think of it almost like like we treat variables. The value is stored to a variable, and we can use it over and over and over again, and it's reusable. If we need to change it, we don't have to go through and look for every place we type 12. We can just go through and we can just come here, change the value of button padding, and that'll change it everywhere. So in our string, so instead of 12 zips, we'll do at dimension button padding, which in this case is going to look exactly the same. If we go back over to layout, nothing really changed because that's the same number, just a better way to get to it. It consolidates the resource, so we can use that over and over again anytime we need 12 zips. And if we want to resize things, such as going from a phone to a tablet, we can have alternate sizes there and use it like a variable. I typed it in there, so I might as well put it here. Name equals Android : text size. And again, add the dimensions folder, the value called text size. And when we come back over here, made everything a whole lot bigger. Just setting in some basic functionality. But it looks like I'm coming on 15 minutes, so I'm going to render this video down, and I want to find a more colorful font, a better font than this. So we'll do that in the next video. See you in a moment. Okay, so at the end of the last video, we started setting up style for our buttons. Adding some color in, some padding, and kind of taking a look at how those go together. Make a style tag, put items in style tags to define the particular properties we want, and then we put an item in our overall style tag representing the theme to bring in that style, basically. And we also looked at creating a file for dimension resources. And I forgot to mention an important one. I was talking about reusability this time. There are several reasons why we do that. One of the biggest is always efficiency. XML compile time is compiled into binary, directly into binary. So it's much more efficient, is one of the primary reasons for doing that. And we're going to do some more XML stuff here in just a moment. So back over in Android Studio, here's kind of where we finished out. We've added some padding. If we're making things flashy, that font's a little boring, so should probably put in a new font. And like all computers, I have a bunch on here, but I was going to go ahead and go over this and just go and getting some, so you can search for different fonts. For a while now, I've been using this site, 1001fonts.com. They have a lot of fonts. I'm pretty sure they have more than 1,000 fonts. Here, once it pulls up, my computer is running a little slow because I have a webcam running, recording video, Android Studio running, and yeah, slowing the computer down just a little. Yeah, that's fine. Cookies are okay. So, it's a huge list of fonts. It just kind of starts out. Let's see, there's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 on the page. and 1,101 pages of fonts. So quite a few. In search through, there's a lot of movies. That's what I looked at when I was preparing it. Oh, you can see in the search there. Well, the font from the Godfather movie. Seems like a good one to start with. They have a couple of them here. That happens a lot of times, so I'm just going to use this basic one. We can download it. So there are a couple nice things about this site. You can see I downloaded it twice because I had to restart the video. That's a nice thing. Can't really do that in class, but download that. Aside from having lots of fonts, everything on here is free for public use. Downloads. Free for private use, and which applies to us in academic settings. So I'm going to go ahead and extract this file. And the other nice thing about it, we can see in here, is everything from this site, 1001fonts.com, has, well, they put a nice name for it here, legal mumbo jumbo. Yeah, it's a Godfather thing, so probably a good place to make a joke about making an app that they cannot refuse. But y'all are probably all a little too young to get the reference. So there's legal information saying where and how you can use it, and every font has that. If it's something you'd have to pay for, it'll tell you who to send the checks to, basically. For us, we just need the TTF file. Everybody's probably seen one of these before, as what the letters look like, the symbols look like, and then some examples. Click install to put it on your computer. I already have this one installed on my computer, I'm pretty sure. So I'm just going to highlight it and push Control-C to copy, and come back over to Android and paste that in. Well, the other day we did something similar with the images, but the font's not going to go in drawable file. There doesn't seem to be anything here that really goes to fonts. Or it's not obvious where fonts go. So we need to create that file. It's just not there by default. So what we want to do is right-click on resources. Remember, wherever we right-click, we get different things. So if we right-click on drawable, once it catches up, under new, we get new drawable resource. If we right-click on colors, well, that's just under values. We get a values resource. But if you're not sure where a font goes, or you're not sure where it goes, in our case right now, fonts, you can come up to the regular resource folder and right-click on that, and then the new menu just goes to a generic resource file, and we get the little dialog box to open all of them, or to access all of them. So the second thing here, resource type, if we expand that, you can see there's a whole bunch of them on there. In our case, we want a font. And that'll create the folder with in the proper place, with the right name, and all that. And then we have some naming conventions. So stuff in the resource folder, you may have noticed, I can't remember if it's been specifically stated in class, but everything in the resource folder has to have all lowercase letters, no spaces. All lowercase, no spacing. So what I like to do is on the XML file, I'll use underscores. So this is going to be the Godfather font, so I'm going to do the underscore Godfather for the XML one. And then hitting that will create the folder where it needs to go, the font folder. So I select that and hit Control-V to paste. It's going to paste it in here, and you can see the name on there is not a valid name. Like I just said, all lowercase, no spacing. So on these, I like to put the same name as the XML file will have in the source file, in this case the TDF file. I'll just match the words together with all lowercase letters. And then in the XML, put the same words with underscores. That's just the style I use to help tell at a glance which one's which. So, to bring this font in, you can see when we generated this XML file for a particular font, it starts out with the XML tag, saying what version it is, the encoding we're using, they all start with that. Then we have this font family tag. And inside a font family tag, we can put a font tag. You can see there's only a couple attributes. The font, the style, variations, weight, index, all that stuff will be in the information in the TTF file or OTF file, whichever type of file you're using. We have to have at least Android.font. And you can see that the predicting here, even though we're passing in a string for the value to a tag attribute, needs to be the annotation to it. So add font, and then we want the one with the spaces, and this is why I do the XML with underscores, and the original file, just the words mashed together. And then this is a standalone tag, so we can just close to the slash, and it'll put the other angle bracket on there. We don't need a closing tag. And I do that, follow that naming convention on all of these things. So like on drawables, I'll do that on the ping files. And then if I turn them into vector graphics, which would be in an XML file, I'll put underscores to the same name basically. That just makes it easy to tell at a glance which one's which one's XML, and in this case, which one's TTF. So that brings our font in. You can see there wasn't a whole lot in that TTF file, so it probably doesn't have bold or italic or any versions like that. Well, it's the font from the movie poster, so all they have is the letters that were on the movie poster, and then they made up the rest of the alphabet. So now we can apply that font to our buttons here. So back in styles, item, once again, an item tag and the style for the button, which is a subclass of our overriding thing. So the name equals, everything here is going to start with Android, and it started to predict it. So font, does it give us any information? So font is kind of new. I think it's API 28 or higher. You can use font. Everything older is font family, and those newer ones you can still use font family. So it's probably better to make sure you use font family. Plus, we made a font family tag, not a font tag. Might be another way to remember that. So for the item, the font family item, we can just call in that font. So add font slash, and we want the XML one. So the TTF file, and then I do underscores for the XML. I guess it's to tell on the IntelliSense which one's which. That's why I like to do that. So I'm going to come over here to the thing. Sometimes when we start styling things, it kind of overloads this. Oh, that did show up. So when we start adding a whole lot in, sometimes it overloads this and we won't see the graphics. This is, remember, this is an XML file. It's just all this code. And then the user interface here is just to make it easier for us. So this appearance thing that isn't really what the file is. The appearance thing is one of the first things Android Studio will release for some resources with if it starts to get kind of crowded. We can see it change to that font. And I guess we could do another one. Where's that text view? Some words in here. Default words. That way we can see it on the screen. And then I'll do some stuff for text views to go over all this again. So one more time with fonts. We can come over here, and I've been using 1001fonts.com. You can search around. There are no shortage of fonts online. What are these ads for? Oh, gym. I've been building up my home gym and buying exercise equipment, replacing some that's a few years old and stuff. So I keep seeing ads for gym stuff and instruments because I like to buy instruments when I can. Just bought a new guitar, so that ad was throwing me off, and I'm like, what kind of ad am I seeing here? But I remember I've bought a whole bunch of exercise equipment in the last 3 weeks. So back to this 1001fonts.com. We can look up, let's see, Perry Hodder. That's another one that I saw. We search for that. This is one I just stumbled across on this site one day. There we go. The Perry Hodder font. There's clearly no copyright infringement going on there. We'll download that. Oh, whoops. I clicked the wrong thing. Download that. And I'm almost out of time on this video, so I'm going to render this down, and we'll start right here in the next video. Okay, so after I got that video ready and watched back over it, I noticed I keep saying Android dot something in those when I'm doing those attributes. And I hope you noticed on this, watching the screen, it's Android :font or Android :background. It's not a dot. That word just keeps flowing out of my mouth. I'm so used to using the dot when programming. But for our attributes, especially in the styles, they all have to start with Android, and it's Android : and I noticed I keep saying Android dot. Sorry about that. I hope you noticed it on the screen. So when that last video left off, we had just downloaded the font. Downloads. I just downloaded this Perry Hodder font. Never heard of a movie by that name, so it's obviously not infringing on any copyrights. If we go ahead and extract that, we'll see some stuff in here. Oh, they got that name on there. What is that file? An image. Probably a movie poster or something. But we have another TTF file, TrueType font. And you can see this, again, the symbols we have and install. Y'all have probably seen those before. If you want to add a bunch of nice fonts to your computer, and some legal documentation, free, saying who the allowed use and or who to make a check out to if you want to sell it. So I just want to copy this, so I'm going to do Control-C to copy, then come over to Android Studio, click on the font tag over here in our Explorer tree, and the font, and Control-V to paste that in there. And again, with the naming conventions, it needs to be all lowercase letters. So I'm going to give it the same name. And on the source files, I like to just match the words together. Call that Perry Hodder. And now we can create, right click here and create a new font resource file, which sets a whole lot of stuff up for us. And I'm going to call it Perry _Hodder. just to make it easy to tell which one's source file and which one's XML. That's how I like to do that. And it starts it out for us, sets up the XML tag, adds the font family opening and closing tag, and in between those we need a font with the attribute Android : font, and this time the string for the value needs to be our annotation, so at font slash, and the source file is mashed together. And it's a standalone tag, so just typing the slash will finish out, well, Android Studio will finish out the rest of it. So that gives us that file. We come back over to strings, or not strings, styles, first styles. Get too many things up. So we looked at the manifest. The thing we did tonight is in our application tag of the manifest. So the manifest says, well, there's an application here, and inside it there's going to be an activity, and well, that's all we've got in there so far. But in our application, the attribute, one of the attributes is the theme we apply to it, and we ask for this theme, and we've been creating that theme. So I'm going to close the manifest. We'll see those periodically throughout the semester. Do a few things in there. There's the styles. I can close some of these other things. Getting a bunch of things open here. Well, we did this job on Tuesday. Tonight we're just all talking about the themes. So in styles.xml, we created a button style and asked for that in our theme. So up top we have this style element, and every style element needs a name and a parent which it inherits things from. We changed the background color, and then we applied this custom button style that we made down here. So to review this again, I'm going to start a style tag, and we have to give it a name. Well, you can see right here, names required, and there's only two things that showed up, name and parent. We want to give it both of them. So name, I'll call this my text view. Oops, that's not a backspace. Text view. And the parent, again, I'll just extend our theme. You can use whichever theme you want to, you can extend anything you want. You could extend a basic text view or a completely different theme than this, pull it from someplace different. This is definitely something you'll want to play around with and making things look nice, because that's very important. Humans are very much a visual species. People are going to judge your app based on how it looks, so you want to make it look nice. We're just quickly going over how to change colors and stuff, but you can see we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. I believe everybody in class has had dealt with markup language. I think everybody's had the SDEV 153 class. I know several of you all had it with me, and I think the others have had it as well. But markup languages are very, very repetitive. Just a couple examples, and you've kind of seen enough to run with. That's how I've always felt about it. But yeah, so kind of doing the same thing we just did. We have a style tag, and this one's going to be for text views. So we need a couple things about it. So item name equals, well, the font is what we just set up, and remember, Android : font is API 28 or higher. I think that's Pi. I'd have to check on the list, but a fairly recent one. For older stuff and for new stuff, we can use font family. For older stuff, we have to use new font family. Newer stuff, we can use font family. So I'm going to set up a font, and it's going to be at the font folder. Oh, where did my predictive stuff go? That's the font folder, and we want the XML one, And again, I name them by the source file, mashes the words together. And the XML file, I put underscores. That way I can tell them apart of the list. Put that in there. I guess we could make that bigger. Item name equals Android : text size. And we set up some dimensions. Did I close that file? Oh, it's still open. So we have this dimension resource item holding the value of 32 sips. So might as well just use that. It's called text size. So at dimension / text size. So that should make things bigger and put that other font on them. If we come back over to the layout, we may be able to see it. Yeah, so I think we're getting to, it's needing to back off on the graphics. You have to run it to see it, so no need to take video of the Gradle build running, so I'm going to run that and be back in just a second. Whoops, I maxed out the video, had to come back a little, so I think I remember where I'm at. This is when I stopped to run it, but there was a slight problem here. Luckily it left a pause there that I could restart this video at. But I will go back to the spot where I stopped it and start recording again here in just a second. Okay, so doing this without taking a lot of time to edit it so I can get it out. It's already 9 o'clock or 10 minutes till 9. I was hoping to have this done a little while ago. So when I ran it, I realized I'd forgot something. I should have suspected it when I saw that that didn't preview. Over here in styles, we created our style, and we can apply that to a certain thing. So let's do that real quick. See how I do that. So in the text, if we go look at the text for this, somehow that got typed. Everything's going slow here. Okay. We also have this attribute style, and we can set that equal to at, and then there's the one we just created, my text view, or since we're only a couple weeks in class, we'll probably come over here, and with the text view selected, we have all this big list, and we scroll way down. Somewhere down this list, we'll get to the S's. There we go. There's a style one, and a huge list of things to choose to style from. Or we can type in that one that we just created, at style.myTextView. Oops. Style.myTextView. There we go. You can see that applies that to this. Where'd that go? Did it move it up to the top? That looked like the list changed on me. Oh, it wasn't selected, that's why. Which, put it right here in the XML. I'm going to take that out though. So that is a style. It's applied to a particular element. Usually we want things to look consistent across our whole app, so we want to apply it to the theme. So once we have the style, we want to add it to our collection of styles. So add in item name Android : and it's always the we want. So text view with the word style appended on, and then the style we want to apply. So at style/myTextView. So I'm going to run this, and I'll be back in just a second and show you what it looks like. So here's the app when it runs. One of the main things I wanted to note, because it's not on preview, is up here in the action bar. Notice when we change the label in the action bar counts as a text view, so that goes with that. The little pop-up messages will as well. We don't have any on here to look at. Those are all text views. But you can see it applied that Harry Potter font, or Harry Potter font, to the text view. And almost out of minutes on this, so I'm going to do some closing thoughts. And the next video should be very quickly just a recap. And we'll review all this stuff on Tuesday. And so kind of how to apply themes. If we had a second activity on this app, it would carry through these same features. We were just going over how to do this stuff. I'm sure some of the visual arts people would freak out a little. The side of the thing I put together, there's much better appearance things to do, but I'll put a few thoughts in the final video and I'll send these out here shortly. Okay, so just a few closing thoughts here. This covering styles and themes, basically how the app looks, which is a very, very critical point. Humans are a very appearance-based thing. We rely on our eyes a lot. It's led to psychological issues. We're very appearance-based, and people are going to judge your app based on how it looks. That's a major, major quality of what the end users are going to base their opinions off of. So you want to make sure your app looks nice, and that's kind of what we were doing here. So if we go back over to Android Studio for a moment, this is the basic idea. So in the styles.xml file, we can set up these style elements. And everyone needs a name so we can refer to it, and a parent that it inherits from. We can leave off the parent and do everything from scratch, but you probably don't want to do everything entirely from scratch. So you want to inherit from something and then give it a name to refer to it by. And at that point, you can come over, when you have a style, you can come over and apply that style to a particular element. Select an element and either type it right in the XML or here on this nice useful interface. Scroll down to the styles, somewhere way down here, and type in the style you want to apply. So add style, and then whichever, add style, and then the style you want to apply. And apply something to just one thing. So that's a style. But when we put the styles together, that's when we get a theme. And if you apply the style, start applying styles to buttons, we'd have to do it to every button. If we had 3 or 4 activities on the app, we'd have to do it to every button on every activity. It gets a little tedious. So we're going to apply it everywhere at once. So that's where we create a theme, which is a collection of styles. And again, it's a style tag, and we give it a name and a parent to inherit from. And then we fill that element up with items of what we're adjusting. So those are the basic colors. We added in, changed the background color, and most all of them look like this: Android : some property. So we did a background, applied button styles, and for any of the widgets, it's the name of the widget with the word style appended afterwards. So button style, text view style, edit text style, spinner style, image view style, all that stuff. We set up the style and just apply it that way. So you can see it's a very repetitive process. Working with markup languages usually is very, very repetitive. A few examples, and you kind of see how to get rolling with it, and the IntelliSense can help a lot. You can see the different options you have to work with. It's definitely something you want to play around with. I really hated to miss tonight's class because this is going to be a big issue on the midterm next week. which will open up on Sunday at midnight. So remember, midterms are on a different schedule than the homework. With homework, I always allow for questions to be asked, so homework's due after the next class period. But the exam is a calendar schedule, so it opens at 12 a.m. on Sunday and closes at 11:59 p.m. on Saturday. So remember, calendar schedule for the exams. So it'll open up Sunday. You'll want to play around with themes a little. That is something that is on there. They shouldn't be too bad. Let me know if you have any problems with it. We will review this quickly on Tuesday, mostly dependent on if you have questions or not with it. But it's very repetitive, very straightforward. Everything you do with styles and themes will look a lot like what we did tonight. Just different values to the name attribute in the item tag is kind of all that changes. And then whatever you're inheriting from. And I will add a link to a page that has what Google officially recommends for the design thoughts and stuff if you want to look at that. And color theory. Look into color theory a little, at least glance at the Wikipedia page maybe to get a start on it. That is a huge field of psychology, so there's a lot to it, but color, again, humans are a very visual species, and colors have different effects on different people. Same thing with fonts. That's not as highly studied as colors, but the different letters, how curvy or bold or sharp corners, those things do have effect on your user. Those will affect your end user. So it's good to have at least a basic idea of what's going on with them. And yeah, definitely play around with this a little, make things look the way you want it to. For the homework assignment, I think there's something with the starter files, but with the themes and styles assignment especially, I would very much prefer you just do your own. Just go overboard. It's not an art class. Make an app, maybe a couple activities, and apply as many themes and styles, as many things as you can, just to get some practice with it. And otherwise, if anybody has any questions, let me know. You know how to get a hold of me, and we'll have the regular online office hours on Sunday, and we'll review this on Tuesday, depending on how many questions people have about styles and themes. And I will see you all next week. Have a great weekend.